So already in the last two lectures, I talked about the fundamental rights, the intro and the brief about them. So in that process, we'll move on to this, uh, the right to equality, which has mentioned in the article 14 to 18, and right that is the right to equality. So we'll discuss each article 14 to 18. As you know, the part 3 of the Indian Constitution deals with the fundamental rights, and especially article 14 to 18, which talks about the right to equality. So in its struggle for social and political freedom, mankind has always tried to move towards the ideal of equality for all. The urge for equality and liberty has been the motive force of many revolutions, as I talked about this French revolutions and many others in the beginning. The Charter of United Nations records the determination of the member nations to reaffirm their faith in the equal rights of men and women and try to join on time. Indeed, real and effective democracy cannot be achieved unless equality in all spheres is realized in a full measure. However, complete equality among men and women in all spheres of life is an ideal. This goal is to be attained only by the march of humanity along the long and difficult path of economic, social, and political progress. The constitution and laws of a country can at best assure to its citizens only a limited measure of equality. Therefore, political and legal equality had been given the status of fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution, while the economic and social rights, the economic and social equality was largely left within the scope of DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. A realization of economic and social equality depends on countries' socio-economic development. The right to equality guarantees protection not only against discriminatory laws passed by legislatures, but also prevents arbitrary discretion being vested in the executive. In the modern state, the executive is armed with vast powers. The equality clause, which has mentioned in Article 14 to 18, prevents such power being exercised in a discriminatory and arbitrary manner. Keeping this vision in mankind, the framers of the Constitution or the Indian Constitution incorporated the right to equality and Article 14 to 18 of Part 3 of the Constitution. So first we'll talk about the Article 14, which says equality before law.
Sir, equality of protection by law.
Yes, yes, I'm coming to that. Uh, you can see on this PPT, which reads this Article 14, the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. In the next slide of this Article 14, you can find this Article 14 declares that the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. The phrase in this article, that is the equality before the law, finds a place in almost all written constitution that guarantees fundamental rights. Equality before law is an expression of English common law. Let's see this. As I told you, equality before law is an expression of English common law, while equal protection of laws owes its origin to American Constitution, equal protection of laws. So it has originated from the American Constitution, and both these expressions have uh, been used in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as well. So now we'll move on to this phrase equality before law. The conception of equality does not mean absolute equality among human beings, which physically not possible to achieve. It is the concept implying absence of any special privilege by region of birth, creed, or like any individual, and also equal subjection of all individuals and classes to the ordinary law of the land. Guarantee of equality before the laws means what? Can any one of you tell me? Yes, Krishangi.
Yes, sir. Equality of law. Are you saying about that?
Guaranteeing of equality before the laws. What do you mean by this?
Sir,
Sir, can I?
sir, the
Yes, Rahul.
prohibition of
Uh, yes,
Sir, you are
Rahul.
asking
Yes,
na, guarantee of equality before the law. So,
yes,
as it's mentioned in our constitution or the Article 14 that equality before law, it means that
yes.
everyone would be treated equally. There would be no differentiation between anyone, and there will be if there is a case, then the law would treat both of them equally. That does it
Okay,
mean that it guarantees equality before law?
okay. Uh,
Sir, the prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, gender, or place of birth, equality of opportunity in matters of employment, the abolition of untouchability, and the abolition of title.
okay. Anything else? Someone else was trying to speak. Is this slide visible to you? Okay. The guarantee
Sir,
of
sir, 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 sir.
yes, yes,
State, state will treat people in the same circumstances alike. The article also means that individual, whether citizens of India or otherwise, shall be treated differentially if the circumstances are different.
yes.
Something like that, can we say?
Okay. Well, I'm coming to the answer of this question. Uh, the as I asked, guarantee of equality before the law means what? So it means no person is above the law, and the every person, whatever be his or her rank or conditions, is subjected to the jurisdiction of the courts. So whether you are minister or MLA, it doesn't matter if the law will be same for everyone, and everyone will come under the jurisdiction of ordinary courts. Every official from the prime minister down to a constable or a collector of taxes is under the same responsibility for every act done without legal jurisdiction as any other citizen. The rule of law embodied in Article 14, the rule of law, is the basic feature of Indian Constitution, and uh, it cannot be destroyed even by an amendment of the Constitution under the Article 368 of the Constitution. And you know about these provisions which I discussed while talking about the amendments. Okay, so is it clear the meaning of the phrase equality before law?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the slide is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll move on to the second phrase of this Article 14, that is the equal protection of laws. This has been interpreted to mean subjection to equal law applying to all in the same circumstances. It only means that all persons have a right to equal treatment in similar circumstances. Equal protection ensures equal treatment in equal circumstances and differing treatment in differing circumstances. The rule is that the like should be treated alike and not the unlike should be treated alike. Will you able to understand the meaning of this statement? Like should be treated alike and not that unlike should be treated alike. Tell me. Uh, the phrase equal protection of the laws is borrowed from the 14th Amendment of the United States of American Constitution. It means that like should be treated alike and that none should be favored and none should be discriminated against. Uh, on that similar line, you will find this differential treatment. Uh, so we'll come to the word any person in this Article 14, any person, the word any person. Uh, in Article 14 of the Constitution denotes that the guarantee of the equal protection of laws is available to any person. So here, what does it mean, any person? It refers to whether a citizen or an alien, which includes any company or association or body of individuals. The equality before the law, is guaranteed to all without arbitrary discrimination on the ground of race, color, or national, whether having the nationality of which country, it doesn't matter. Both the phrase, uh, which I explained to you thus right now, the equal protection of laws and equality before laws. So both of these phrases aim to establish what is called the equality of status and of opportunity, which embodied in the preamble of the Constitution, and which I discussed this equality of status and opportunity in details while talking about the preamble. So we'll not go into much more detail. So while this equality before the law is somewhat negative concept, implying the absence of any special privileges in favor of privilege in favor of any individual, and equal subjection of all classes to the ordinary law. Equality of laws is a more positive concept, uh, employing equality of treatment under equal circumstances. So, interpreting the scope of the article, the Supreme Court of India held in Charanjit Lai Chaudhary versus Union of India, Charanjit Lai Chaudhary versus Union of India. In this case, uh, the Supreme Court of India interpreted the scope of the Article 14. Uh, First thing, the equal protection means equal protection under equal circumstances. The first thing which come by this judgment. The second, the state can make reasonable classification for purpose of legislation. And the third, presumption of reasonableness in favor of legislation. And the fourth, last thing, the burden of proof lies on those who challenge the legislation. Whomsoever is going to challenge the legislation, they need to prove it. So this burden lies on whomsoever is going to challenge. We'll talk about the exceptions.
Sir, exception in Article 15.
14.
Okay, 14.
Visible on the screen as well. See, will explain it. The Constitution is stipulates three exceptions. Okay. Uh, as you can see on the slide, the rule of equality is not an absolute, as I discussed, and even with the reference to the judgment of the Supreme Court in the uh, case of Charanjit Lai Chaudhary versus the Union of India. Uh, the rule of equality is not an absolute rule, and there are a number of exceptions to it. So we'll talk about that. For instance, foreign diplomats are immune from the jurisdiction of courts. So, as you know, having the embassies of different countries in India and the diplomats of other countries uh, are exempted from the jurisdiction of the courts. Article 361 of the Indian Constitution affords immunity of the President of India and the state governor as well. So the as you can see on the slide, the which talks about that the Constitution stipulates three exceptions. Number one, the President of India or the governor of a state is not answerable to any court for his official actions. So, if the President of India or the governor of a state uh, is discharging his duties and performing his tasks, and his actions are not answerable in the court. The second exceptions, the president or the governor is not subject to criminal prosecution during his term of office. जब प्रेसिडेंट और गवर्नर या गवर्नर अपने टेन्योर में पोजीशंस पे हो तो उनके अगेंस्ट क्रिमिनल केसेस जो है उसे प्रोसिक्यूट नहीं किया जा सकता है. And the third thing, the civil suits claiming relief for personal actions cannot be brought against the president or a governor when in office. So these are the three exemptions. These are the three exceptions uh, regarding this Article 14. Real democracy can be achieved only by a proper balance between the equality of individual and restrictions imposed on him in the interest of the community. So you can see this article 361, which talks about the protection of the president and governor and Raj Pramukhs. Uh, the Article 14 permits classification but prohibits class legislation. So you need to be careful regarding this. This Article 14 is permitting the classification but prohibiting the class legislation. The equal protection of laws guaranteed by Article 14 uh, does not mean that all laws must be general in character. The varying needs of different classes of persons often require separate treatment, like different like the classes of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC, women class on the basis of gender. They require separate treatment and different laws in different places. So that's why you will find the provision of the fifth and the sixth schedule in the Constitution regarding the administration of schedule and the tribal area. So, in fact, identical treatment in unequal circumstances would amount to inequality. So, if we will treat equally in unequal circumstances, this also leads to inequality. Is it clear?
So last line,
No, sir.
repeat.
I said identical treatment इन अनइक्वल सर्कमस्टांसेज अगर मान लीजिए कि कोई जैसे मान लीजिए कि कोई दो पर्सन है वन रिच एंड पुअर and one having nothing to eat and money to go to the school, and if you treat both of them equal and but both of them are in different unequal circumstances refers to in different circumstances and their conditions are not equal, and if I will treat them equally so it will also leads to inequality. Will you be able to understand? So in these circumstances need an equal treatment, the one who is well off and one who is deprived of. So, whomsoever are deprived of need to give them a special treatment. Will you able to
Okay,
understand?
got it. Yes, sir, got it. So just like women, like
And yes, and that's and this is the reason behind the reservation. Preferential treatment reservation is here, which is named as preferential treatment in other countries as well. And even in terms of the women empowerment, you will find that, and the representation of the women in the state legislative assemblies and the parliament. For that having, and so that's why having the reservation for the women at each tier of the government. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Article, as you can see on your screen, this Article 361, protection of president and governor and Raj Pramukh. So we'll talk about this. This Article 3, who is this? Provides that this Article 361 provides that the president or the governor of a state or Raj Pramukh of a state shall not be answerable to any court for the exercise and performance of the powers and duties of his or her office or any act done or purporting to be done by him or her in the exercise and performance of those powers and duties. No criminal proceedings, no criminal proceedings shall be instituted or constituted against the president or the governor of a state in any court during his or her terms of office. No process for the arrest uh, or imprisonment of the president or the governor of the state shall be issued from any court during his or her term of office. So, by this way, the explanation of this Article 14 is over. So, we'll move on to this article.
Sir, sir.
Yes, yes.
There's a term that Raj Pramukh. What does it mean?
This is the Hindi term. Okay.
Okay, it
What the-
means that only, na, governor of the
yes,
state.
yes, yes. Yes.
Okay, sir.
The screen is visible to you.
Yes, sir.
So, as you can see this on here, this Article 15, okay, which talks about the prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. So you can see the five clauses of this Article 15. The first is that first clause reads, the state shall not discriminate against any citizen on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. And accordingly, you can see the second clause, and in the clause number two, having the two subsections, clause 2a and 2b. And then you will find the clause 3 of Article 15. And moving to next slide, you can see this Article 15, clause number 4 and clause number 5. Okay, so these five clauses, Article 15 and these five clauses will explain. Uh, so, uh, as I briefed you about this Article 15, its first clause, and the second clause, which says that no citizen shall, on the ground only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them, be subject to any disability, liability, restriction, or condition with regard to. So, which kind of the condition? So, for that, having the two sub clauses of this Article 15, Clause 2. So, Article 15, 2A reads uh, access to shops, public restaurants, hotels, and places of public entertainment. So, in all these places, having no restriction, you are free to go to any shop, any public restaurants, any hotels, and places of public entertainment. That will be the cinema halls or any park or anything. So, at all these places, having no restriction, and the restriction on the ground of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. Okay, and only the places of public entertainment, along with the access to shop, public restaurants, hotels. And if we'll move on to the clause 2B of the Article 15, which uh, reads, I will tell you, the use of wells, uh, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, and places of public resort maintained wholly or partially out of state funds or dedicated to the use of general public. Even there's जो गांव में आपने देखा होगा कि जो कुआं होता है. So earlier, having the discrimination, the lower caste people are unable to take the water from there, having the different taps or the wells for the lower caste and the upper caste. So all these provisions of the discrimination have gone away, and this Article 15, Clause 2B, ensures the equality for that. So anyone can access the well, the public well in the villages or anywhere, or the tanks or the bathing ghats or roads. No one can be stopped to be on the road, and then the places of the public resort, which maintain either fully or partially by the state fund and the dedicated to the use for the general public. And this Article 15, Section 3, nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children. Okay, if the state was, they can make the special provision for women and children. Uh, then the clause number 4 or the section 4 of this Article 15, which says nothing in this article or in clause 2, which I said you, uh, uh, nothing in this article or in clause 2 of Article 29 shall prevent the state from making any special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of citizens or for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe. If the state is taking any measures to upgrade the socially and educationally backward classes or any kind of beneficial measures, and the policies especially for them and as well as either the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribes, this Article 29 will not prevent the state in doing so. So, this Article 15, clause number 5 says nothing in this article or in subclause G of clause 1 of Article 19 shall prevent the state from making any special provision by law for the advancement of any socially and educationally classes of citizens for the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribe, insofar as such special provisions uh, relates to their admission to educational institutions, including private educational institutions, whether aided or unaided by the state, other than the minority educational institutions, which refer to the clause 1 of the Article 30. And these five clauses are visible on your screen, so you can look into that. And nothing much more to explain in this Article 15. Uh, so now we'll move on to Article 16. Any question till now
No,
on this
sir.
Article 14 and 15? Do
No,
you have
sir.
any lecture after this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Uh, okay. So we'll stop here. And tomorrow we'll talk about Article 16, 17, and 18. Okay.
Sir, Monday.
I tomorrow refers to month. मतलब कि in the next lecture. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sir, have you checked the paper, sir?
Uh,
Paper, term paper.
अभी नहीं देखा है वो synopsis. I haven't seen it right now, but I have seen whosoever have submitted. Okay, we'll look, we'll check it in some time today only, and accordingly you will get the reply